My name is Marz, and my pronouns are they, them. I am 36 years old, and I have been living with HIV for 36 years. I do identify as non-binary, and my story goes like this. So most of my childhood I spent in and out of hospitals due to being sick and being in a bunch of different medical studies and things like that to kind of help me survive. I was born in '88 when a lot of the medical advancements and things that we have today they didn't exist. And so I struggled a lot along with the other adults that were going through HIV at the time. And I think that as a kid, it molded me into being my own advocate in a sense, because I had to learn really young how to speak up for myself in hospital situations or doctor's appointments and things like that. I had to learn really young how to put in my own feeding tube, because it meant that I would spend less time at the doctor's office, less time in the hospital. I had to learn how to navigate the health system very young. And I think that it has grown me a lot in how I handle my care today. But I think that when your childhood is so, I don't want to say it's stunted. I had fun in my childhood, but I also struggled a lot with being sick so often. And so with that came a lot of lack of socialization, lack of friends, lack of just even school. And so with the lack of those things, it made it so that I was separated from other people. And as I got older, I wanted to try to bridge that gap a little bit, because I knew that I learned really young about my status. When I was 4, my aunt told me that I had a germ in my body, just to get me to understand kind of the concept of why the doctors were in full PPE trying to treat me, and it was them protecting me from themselves because I was so sick. And then a couple years later, I saw a commercial for AZT, and it was the AIDS drug, and I knew that was me. And I pointed it out on the TV one day to my aunt, saying, that's what I have. And so I was probably about 7 or 8, and she sat me down and said, okay, you actually have HIV, and kind of was just really honest with me. And I appreciate that she continued that throughout my life, just that raw honesty that helped me learn to be my own person, not only with advocacy, but in everything else. And so as I've gotten older, when I was 15 years old, I became undetectable. And so I'm in high school now, and I'm wondering what my purpose is in life, because I wasn't supposed to live this long based on statistics and HIV back in the day. And so I joined this club called AIDS Action Club at school, and I allowed myself for the first year to be educated along with everyone else. But by the second year, I saw what was lacking was the humanness. There was no human that really shared their experience with us about HIV and how it affected them or anything like that. And so I asked if I could share my story with the class, and so I ended up doing that. It was very well received. And this was a club that went on for 4 straight years. And it was like I had built almost like a little family with this group as we grew. Because once I shared that, they were able to ask me their questions and just really bounce off of me the different things that they had already been thinking. And I was able to humanize HIV for everyone. And as I got older, I kind of grew a passion for that. And I grew a passion for HIV advocacy work because I knew that I was here for a reason, but I just didn't know what it was. And it wasn't until that club that I felt like I found my purpose. And in finding my purpose, HIV has affected me in positive ways, and then some of the other ways that it has kind of affected me long term that I feel like maybe some people who have maybe a new diagnosis could probably maybe relate to, is the fact that mentally, right? Sometimes when you first find out your status, it's a mental, distress almost, like, oh, what do I do now? What do I do next? And I think that's kind of the last couple of years of my life have been futuristically thinking, like, what do I do next? What does the future have for me? I think a lot of people think, oh, I don't have a future anymore, but that's not true anymore. If you get on medication and are, regular with that, you can actually be undetectable and live a long, healthy life with HIV. And I not only want to advocate for that, but the idea of the fact that HIV isn't just physical, it is also mental, and sometimes you have to remind yourself that this isn't the end of the world, this isn't the end of life, this isn't the end of living, this is maybe just the beginning of something different, a new way of life or a new way of thinking about living. And I know that my later years have been learning how to live. And I think that in learning how to live, you learn how to also live with your status and understand how it presents itself. It might be super public and present, and there might be your little secret, but no matter what, it still affects you mentally and emotionally. And I think that community is one of the most important factors, especially when it comes to HIV or any other chronic illness, but having community and people that you can talk to and relate to, and even just be like, hey, my doctor prescribed this, but I am not sure if I should take it. Like, are you on it? What's your experience? But just being able to share those things sometimes can help other people, but it could also just help that person with that new diagnosis just receive that information. And hopefully it's comforting to know that there are other people out there also living a long and healthy life with HIV and can help with that struggle and can help with that mental and emotional piece to dealing with your HIV status. Lean into community, because that's really been what's helped me get to where I am, is knowing that I have people who I can talk to and people who understand what I'm going through by saying, I have HIV, you also have HIV. In a certain sense, there's a commonality of some things that we would talk about, such as what time do you have your next medication, or when's your next doctor's appointment, or how was your last doctor's appointment. I think even though I was born with HIV, these are all things that still come up no matter how many years you've had it. So feel free to reach out to me or HIV Stops With Me, because we're here for you. We're here to help you not feel like you're not alone, and to help you feel like you have a support system and people who can help you maybe understand yourself better, as well as just a sense of relativity. But no matter what, we're here for you at hivstopswithme.org.